Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show, where we take a look at how you approach your work and personal life and how we can make the most out of both of them. A weekly get-together where we get real about self-improvement and development as we all make this not-so-easy journey through life. Our discussions will cover ideas and concepts from how to grow your career to how to lead your family towards prosperity and happiness. We don't pretend to know it all, and the doctor is the first to be vulnerable, discussing his own weaknesses, both past and present. This is about growing together and having some fun while we discuss what is happening in the crazy world we live in and how to make the most of it. Let's strive for awesome together. Let's get after it. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Podcast. Remember, the DR stands for driving results. I just play a doctor on TV. Hope you're having a great day. It's Sunday. When I'm recording this, it's hot. It's damn hot. Lots of big weather too. Hope you're safe. Had a little hail. Hadn't had any hail in my life here for several years, and had a little hail yesterday morning. So anyway, hope you're doing safe. Have a great episode this week coming your way here. We're going to talk about don't let chaos run your life. But a couple of reminders. Got a great interview coming up, not this week, but next week with Jillian Riley, author of The 10 Permissions. She's a very interesting individual. From St. Louis, Missouri originally, packed up, headed to Africa to help the world after college, very close to my age, so kind of late 80s, headed over, battled HIV and AIDS all throughout the African continent, and today still lives in Cape Town, South Africa. And she tuned in from there, did a nice interview. That's coming up in a couple weeks to discuss The 10 Permissions. Great book. And then also we have Kenneth Correa coming up from Brazil. He's an AI specialist, so we're going to bring some of the latest technology in as well. He helps major organizations maximize the efforts of AI instead of playing on the fringes, actually use them to do some great things that they're actually built to do. So a couple of great guests coming up there. Got a couple more I'm working on. I'll tell you, a lot of things have changed in 2.5 years. I am on the email every single day saying yes or no to guests. I got these PR companies dialing in, so I guess we've somewhat made it where I've got people calling me to ask to be on the show. It used to be I was chasing guests, and now we have a pretty good listening group. So again, 73 countries now listening. I was checking the stats the other day. It had been 71, but 73, picked up a couple extra. I don't know where, but good things going on there. Hope you're doing well. Gonna jump in here. Again, like I said, it was a great article in HBR, Harvard Business Review, that I'm going to touch on a little bit that kind of spurred this on. But don't let chaos run your life. And this is a business and personal life discussion. And in life, calm wins the day. Calm, C-A-L-M. Deep breaths, calm down, take it all in. And the ability to slow down and understand when and where urgency is needed is a great skill in both your personal life and your work life. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bosses out there and a lot of leaders out there and a lot of family members out there that are just emotional wrecks, and everything has to be under the heat of the moment. And it just causes all sorts of strife and challenges that don't lead to positive outcomes. So first, from a work standpoint, do you work for a manager, or have you worked for a manager? Do you know a manager or a leader who thrives on chaos? I have. I have worked for those people. There, as I said, this great quick hit piece out of Harvard Business Review it's been a couple months ago. I actually saved this article, and I've had such good guests on that I hadn't gotten to it. So I thought I'll pull this back out and get on it today in between my guest recordings. And they ask, the article's a few months ago, and it asked this question of, do you have a boss that thrives on chaos? Now, this was written by a guest of the show, Eric Charran, who joined the Leadership Lounge a few weeks ago. Yes, we have HBR level guests every week on the show. Remember, Eric came on and he talked about his brand new book that was just getting ready to be released called Have You Ever Had a Boss That? Well, Harvard Business Review thinks that it's such a good idea, and he's such a great author and does such wonderful things, that they decided to bring him on, and he wrote a nice piece in the HBR magazine here just a couple months ago. So back to your boss that we're talking about here, that thinks or thrives, I'll do it this way, Bosses that simply thrive on chaos, sometimes called firefighter bosses. Maybe you've heard it called that. Do you have a firefighter boss? Somebody that loves firefighting. I hated firefighting. I hated fire drills. I hated false starts, false stops. I hated chaos. Because what happens there is you lose execution. There's been a ton of this type of leadership since COVID hit, right? Everyone was running around with their heads proverbially cut off their bodies. And if we all would just slow down and breathe for a minute, many times that chaos is avoidable or able to at least be minimized, etc. I mean, in your personal life, same thing holds true. Have you ever been in a scenario or a conversation with loved ones and all of a sudden it gets really heated really quick? It's that firefighter, it's that boom type approach to it instead of just asking some questions and trying to dial this thing in. See, these types of leaders get in such a frenzy that they start to actually even reward crisis response by others and often overlook the simple thing that, hey, some planning or some proactive thinking here might prevent these problems from even happening in the first place. I have in my career gone to bosses and said, this is a big problem. Oh, well, that looks like it might be hard to handle. Let's just keep screwing up our company. They don't want to handle hard. They don't want to take on something. They'd rather just run around with their head cut off and be responsive as the moment comes to them. To be able to be proactive and to see further than the hood of the car, to look at the horizon, or to look in the rearview mirror and see what caused the rough road to begin with and attack it, some people just thrive off of the chaos. The underlying problem here is this. These firefighter leaders, or maybe you're a firefighter, they crave the recognition. We need to shift of fighting the fires. Oh gosh, Jimmy did such a good job putting us through that very difficult time. No, Jimmy did a shitty job because Jimmy could have fixed it 2 years ago when the problem was brought to their attention. And instead we wait, it ferrets up, it flares back up, and then all of a sudden you're a firefighter. See, we need to shift these leaders' focus by discussing, call them near misses, and the times where some good planning or some good execution allowed a crisis to be avoided. See, we need to start celebrating maybe not instantaneous gratification, but that will prevent the bad thing from happening down the road. I truly think that's probably how Trump looked at this bombing that happened of the Iranian sites, right? Love him or hate him, doesn't matter. But I think he's the first president that says, what happens if I don't do this? Well, they get a nuclear weapon and they friggin' shoot it at Israel. There's no doubt. Or the Saudis. They are responsible for everything. Iran's responsible for everything bad out there. It's time to cut the head off the snake. I hope this all works out. We don't have a crystal ball. But I think that that's a real relevant recent activity that someone looked and said, if we don't do this, what could happen? And the what could there is too big a crisis to avoid taking it on heads on. See, some planning or some proactive thinking might be able to avoid a crisis. We need to highlight proactive movements, not reactive movements. Because what happens is over time, the chaos can be received or it'll rewire your team away from focusing to good planning and execution that allows it to be avoided. They will lose the skill set of preemptive problem resolution. Because, hey, we're just supposed to run around here like our heads cut off when something goes bad. How is it at your home? Does a problem not get discussed or does something not get taken on until it turns into an explosion type situation instead of taking some baby steps along the way back in the day? It's like paying off debt. Take some baby steps. Or do you go out to dinner, put your head in the sand, say, you know what, we really can't afford to do this, but we'll just put another $150 on the credit card because we want to look good to the people on the cul-de-sac. This can tie in all sorts of avenues of your life. The same holds true, as I just gave the example of, in leadership, in business, and in our personal lives. And as a salesperson. In your home, it's all the same. Simple choices and steps can be taken to ensure calm, to ensure more consistent outcomes. Remember emotional intelligence here. I talk about emotional intelligence a lot because there's a lot of people that don't have any. And it's an area we all, myself, continue to need to work on. But some of y'all are just friggin' mental midgets, and you got to get this thing under control. Emotional intelligence is the key here. People follow and buy into people and leaders that show control and confidence. People do not like leaders or do not follow people. They actually hate it, that have this hair on fire, all day panic meetings, never being proactive in their thinking. People do not respond well long-term to that. How if an event is driving the kids or spouse crazy at home? How about that? You ever had that where you're just sitting there and the kids, and you come home from work, your husband or your wife, it's mass calamity. The first step on how you handle this or work towards this is to start asking some questions, and they're going to dump on you right away. But why? How come? And why did we do that? Maybe it's a misperception. All these things in your personal life can be taken on as well. But if you slow the pace down, a measured response, what happens is it creates better space for better decisions to come to bear. You slow it down and people start to just process a little bit. That's good in your personal life. In the business life, take a deep breath and look around and what are the weak spots that might impact us? Take those out of the fray. But that slowed down pace, it allows a measured response. It creates that space for better decisions, as I said, and it reduces burnout. And according to Eric Charran, who wrote the article and was the guest on the show, he agrees. Questions and answers level set our emotions. It may still be a challenge. I'm not saying that asking questions makes this issue or the fire that needs fought at that moment go away. But by asking questions, you can find out, why did it become a fire? Why didn't we handle the fire preemptively? And then you can more effectively respond to it instead of just running around with your head cut off. You're never going to drive growth by being reactive. You're never going to drive growth by cutting something because you're trying to make a number. You got to look at how to drive growth. And how you drive growth in your personal and business life is by being calm and having great emotional intelligence. Think of it this way. Calmer heads will always prevail. And here's why I think that. Firefighting's biggest weakness is that they create weakness, but that they create solutions. It's that they never prevent crisis from happening again or in the first place. They just want to show that, man, I can fight the fire. That's what I'm trying to say there. I was kind of rough. But basically, you have to, the biggest weakness of this mentality is that, yeah, sure, you come up with a way to stomp out the flames, but why haven't you gone further back and removed the brush so the fire can never start? There was a study actually done, and what they found is that crisis-driven leadership dominates several things, and it causes several things to happen. One is, when you have a constant firefighter and people are freaking out and all this is happening, it brings on what? It brings on chronic stress. And what does chronic stress bring? Exhaustion from the constant state of urgency. It's like the bombing sirens or the tornado sirens are going off. If they just keep going off, it's just a stressful situation. So if you don't fix or get preemptive on taking the issue out of the mix, that is going to continue to bring burden on your team that takes away, or your family or your friends, your loved one, your own personal life. It is setting you back every time it happens. Why don't you do the hard part? So that's what the study found first of all. The second thing they found is decision fatigue. I'll tell you, it is unbelievable. The goalposts, when you have this firefighting, constantly are getting moved. you have a goal going on and you're chasing that goal. Maybe it's the annual number, maybe it's whatever. But suddenly a fire breaks out. You pull all resources off of the goal and you put it towards the fire. The goalposts of what's important today at work or in your family have moved. And people like consistency and calm, which we talked about before. The next thing that the study found is disengagement and turnover. They have, or at a loss of connection, best case scenario happens because people hate this instability. At home, your kids get quiet. Your spouse doesn't talk to you because something's going on. At work, the people that you're constantly putting under the thumb of pressure of firefighting or fixing or, hey, we've got this, like right now in the last several months, tariffs have become a big issue. I'm sure there were people sprinting and running around with their heads cut off all over around the tariffs. Now, so far, knock on wood, the tariffs are not showing significant impact, if any impact, on inflation and price of goods, etc. Time will tell. But there needed to be things to address that. We had tariffs when COVID hit. We had tariffs before. So why aren't there plans in place to try to minimize this? When COVID happened and all the supply chain broke down, the chips issues happened because of fires and things, people should have been making adjustments to diversify their supply chain so that these tariffs don't negatively impact them. There's ways around it. So take a breath. Make sure that you don't drive turnover, loss of connection with your people, and drive all this instability that people just hate. We're really simple creatures. We just want a comforting environment where we feel we got a chance and that we can work hard and make something happen, make a difference. The last thing that the study talked about that happens when you always have fire drills or chaos around is the loss of focus. And I kind of touched on it already, but especially strategic thinking. Everything becomes short-term, and attainment of growth and long-term gains is lost. We don't have time to worry about where we're going to be in 10 years. I'm trying to save the company for 10 minutes. That's not a good way to live as a leader, as an employee. In your family, if you're going paycheck to paycheck, that's not good either. It's time to take on some of this preemptively. That chaos and that fear of not being able to make bills, not be able to make a retirement, not be able to pay for something for the kids, not be able to handle the power bill coming up, that's no way to live. And I know it's not simple in some of those situations, but you better create a calming environment for your family any way you can. That's cutting expenses, that's getting a better job, that's saving better, that's doing less things that cost money, that's growing your own vegetable gardens, it's just, there's all sorts of options out there. But that loss of focus on strategic thinking, that's the killer for the company side of this and for leaders, because sooner or later, you got to drive results. Sooner or later, a fire won't distract the shareholders or whatever else are judging you. Everyone has a boss, even the CEO. And now you're going to be held accountable for growth and attaining goals. And chaos isn't going to make that happen in your personal life, in your work life or not. Do not let chaos take over your environment. Good people will leave that environment. And that can be a family issue. Divorces, kids running away, not having good relationship with parents, etc. Then the chaos gets even stronger, right? If people leave, now how are we going to make the numbers? Because our best salespeople have left. The other issue with this type of leader is that their bosses start to give recognition for beating the fire when it all could have been avoided. They think, Scott is a great leader, or Susie's a great leader because, man, she really tamped down that big customer issue. What they don't realize is that Susie could have made a decision 6 months earlier. That customer issue would have never happened. What's the loss of opportunity? What's the opportunity cost that has happened because we did not take something hard on before? Do not avoid hard things. Especially don't avoid easy things. Listen to your people. Ask, why do we keep getting in this mess? I bet they've got some answers. Take a breath. Don't be the almighty leader suddenly and think you got all the answers. You don't. Leaders don't have the answers. They're not close enough to where the battles are being fought. Ask those people. Again, we all just need to slow down and investigate root causes of these problems. Most problems are easily avoided. We as individuals and leaders in companies, we need to understand We make choices, and choices make us. Be ahead of the curve on this stuff. It's not easy, but I'll tell you this. Chaos is a terrible, terrible thing to have in your life in any aspect, whether it's work, whether it's life, whatever it might be. Don't allow chaos to get in the middle of relationships, etc. Look at things proactively. What you're not going to see it the first time many times, but man, don't make the same mistake twice. As leaders, I'm speaking to you out there now. Listen to your people. Have an open mind. Don't come with convictions that are based on the historical way you've always done things, because that way is no longer going to work. We can't be what we were. We can't be what we are. We only can hope to be what we will need to be. And you got to be out in front of this stuff. If you can bring calm to your environment, if you can bring decision-making based on facts and not emotions, if you can get your emotional intelligence to a very high place, your life is going to spin in a very positive direction. And then what you do is you take that awesome and you keep that shit up. Talk next week.